children.
Sure,
It's a
sure,
family-orientated activity. And you get to see your kids in different lights.
Sure,
My son likes to speak,
sure.
so he gets a chance to speak.
He likes to speak?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna, did he come last?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
came.
Okay.
He came as one of the
So the kids develop, it enhances their reading
Sure,
skills,
sure.
their public speaking skills.
Sure, which is very important.
And it, as a parent, you get to see your kids in a different light when you're in the audience.
Sure.
And they're in control.
Sure.
You know, so it's a very good, reasonably priced family activity that you can enjoy with your children.
Yes, and you know, I'm glad you brought up, you said reasonably priced activity, you know, because you know, in a nation like this here, we can find a book for 50 cents, you know what I mean, that will entertain us for hours. So it's a good thing that that we sojourn that way and everything.
I want to comment here that we are very grateful to Union County Cultural and Heritage because they have since 2000 have given us grants
Okay.
to purchase the books for the students, and they are able to obtain the books. We distribute them at the meeting, and they bring the books to the meeting for the discussion, and then they're able to keep the books.
Wow, that's
So
good. That's good.
if they continue to participate throughout the year, they would have accumulated 10 books, which is really a good start for any library.
Sure.
So we're really grateful to Union County. We have to apply for the grant,
Sure.
and they've been really, really good about giving us the grant over these years.
Would only be surprised that if maybe one of these big bookstores or whatever may offer you guys some Kindles. You know, the Kindle is that new electronic book. You know,
Oh yeah.
and you can download many books because that's going to be very popular next year. The Kindle. It's been out for a few years, but it's going to be popular. So what is the next book, you guys? I see.
I want to talk about that.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, for October, as I said, we were able to read any biography that we wanted to.
Sure.
And I had this book quite a long time, actually. I think I acquired it from someone over at Rutgers. They were disassembling a library. And
Sure.
I got a batch of books, and this was there, and I never read it. And the subject of the book is Anna Julia Cooper. And if you have bought a postage stamp in the Black Heritage series recently, you may have bought a stamp that bore her picture.
Well, you know, I'll be honest with you. I feel a little slighted a bit because I have not bought the Black History stamps, and I haven't bought any stamps here recently. You know, I used to buy stamps every 3 or 4 months, but because of the internet, you know, all my checks and everything electronically, I miss out on buying, you know, the stamps. I remember I had the stamps for Paul Robinson, you know, about a year or two ago. But things are changing so much. You know, when I first started here at Harvest Radio, I didn't have this computer now. So, you know what I mean? Things are changing. So, yeah, so it's a shame.
But I was just so interested in finding out about this woman.
Okay.
Because she was born, actually, a slave.
Okay.
She was born in 1858.
Wow.
And she died in 1964.
Wow.
And one of her achievements was that she was principal of the M Street High School in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And in conversation with Barbara, I found out that that's where she went to school.
Wow, so you knew her.
Not during her time.
No, I don't mean like that right there. I don't mean like that. I don't mean like that right there. You know, teacher can still be around. I don't mean like that. No.
By the time Barbara got there, they had changed the name of the school to the Dunbar High School. And you might have heard of Dunbar High School because it was like the summit of black education in, before college.
Yeah, I've probably come across a book or something like that.
But at any rate, Anna Julia Cooper was a really eminent woman, as I told the members of our circle at the meeting. She was actually not only the principal of this school, but she got a PhD from the Sorbonne in Paris at the age of 60. And Barbara and I were
So
just,
she had to know French then, because if she studied in
Oh,
Paris.
absolutely. Her dissertation was about French attitudes towards slavery.
Okay.
And her specialty subjects at M Street High School were, because she taught there many years as well as serving as principal, were Latin and Greek. She was into the classics.
Sure.
And that, you know, we don't appreciate the controversy between Booker T. Washington and Du Bois, and how much that pervaded the institutions of the time. But she got caught in that, and that was one of the reasons she lost the principalship, because she was determined that the young people at that school were going to get the best kind of education. They wanted her to teach the trades, and, you know, Booker T. Washington, so they fired her to get their point over. So it's an immensely interesting biography.
Yes, yes.
And I've just been amazed. She started out in Raleigh, North Carolina. She's actually buried there.
Okay.
And she went to St. Augustine College when she was quite a young person. They had her teaching when she was barely a teenager.
But back in those days, I guess we were on a journey to uplift, and I'm sure during her time that it was during a time when maybe one person could read. And we would all meet on a corner, and you would read the paper. That's your job, you know. You sit there reading the paper, we all sitting there listening to you, you know. And so, you know, that was a special time for us, you know. It was a special time, and maybe one day we'll get back to that form of love.
The autobiography that I chose, and I really didn't get a chance to discuss
Tell us
it,
about
but it's a very interesting one, and I really hope that people will look for it and get it. And the name of it is This Child Shall Be Great, and it's about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who is now the president of Liberia in West Africa.
Okay.
And she tells a wonderful story of how she actually was on this journey to become the president of this country. She's the first female president
Sure, yes.
of any country in Africa. And I was interested in it anyway because my husband is from Liberia.
Sure.
And many of the scenes and many of the stories that she tells and the people that she mentions in the book, I know at least their names, and some of them I know personally.
Did she mention anything about, you know, the Afro-American versus the native Liberian?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and what group was she from? Was she a native or Afro?
Well, that's the interesting thing. They think that she's Americo-Liberian. Those are the Liberians who are descendants of the slaves from the United States. Yeah. And she was actually her parents were actually native.
Okay.
But as is customary in Liberia, the Americo-Liberians had the land, they had the money, they had the prestige. They would often adopt these native children. They don't really call it adoption. They just say you're coming to live with me, and I'll send you to school. So that was her situation. Very often they lose their native names.
Sure.
And they take on the names of the Americo-Liberians, which are like Brown and Tubman and Smith.
Right, sure, without a doubt. Okay, yeah, and you know, that's a nice show that's another show I would like to do with Liberia, and also Sierra Leone.
Yes.
Sierra Leone was, I believe, under the British, and where Liberia is under the American system.
I would just like to add that reminded me of a conversation that I had with Barbara's husband, Chris.
Okay.
And there was a young high school student there. And she had been taught that Liberia was, in fact, founded by the Americans, the Negroes from America, and by Lincoln. And it was very interesting as Chris took the opportunity to educate us about the truth from his point of view and not just from his point of view, but we often think of groups coming to discover, and he made it very clear that there were people there before the Americans came to Liberia. So
Okay,
that was an interesting dynamic.
And we're going to have that show. We need to have that show, but I'm going to say this right here now. Good night.
We had more to say.